Front inner plastic wheel arch liner on a Skoda Fabia MK1 99 to 2007. There's a bit of rust on my Fabia on the bottom of the A-pillar on the sill and the outer wing, so I want to investigate that from the inside. To do that I need to take out the inner plastic wheel arch liner, so I need to jack up the car and take the wheel off. I'll just straighten the wheel first. Put my scissor jack on the mark on the seam of the sill. Wind it up a couple of turns. Break loose all the wheel nuts, or bolts in this case. Jack up the car fully. Insert the axle stand on a suitable part of the engine subframe. Take the bolts out. And put the wheel underneath the body of the car for extra security. There are 16 T25 socket-headed screw bolts holding the liner in place. There are 3 at the front edge of the bumper. Ignore the top 4th one, that holds the front bumper on, and I've got one of the screws missing in this case. 2 more here. 1 at the top of the rear section and 3 at the bottom. 2 further clips are on the inside of the wing at the top here. The liner also stretches underneath the front valance, where there are further screws that marry up with the bumper and the under tray. It's a good idea to spray all the screws with some penetrating fluid and then clean out the socket heads with something sharp, as the socket heads are only shallow and can be easily rounded off. I'm using a 1/4 inch ratchet and bit socket. Make sure the bit is squarely and firmly in the head of the screw bolt, otherwise you run the risk of rounding them off, and you might have to apply quite a bit of pressure just to initially break them loose. Take all the screw bolts out, and it's a good idea to put your screws in some kind of container. Mine's a little plastic tray. You can even get magnetic ones, which are arguably better. Then it's just a question of jiggling free the liner without forcing it. It's quite pliable, and I'm starting with a lower front part. You might have to bend it slightly in places. Once one half is free, do the other side. Once both half are loose, then it'll just drop down around the suspension strut and over the disc hub. Now the line is out, I'm going to give it a good clean with a bucket of hot soapy water. Something to note, even though you've got a liner, there's still a little bit of dirt can get through behind. It seems to collect at the bottom parts. although this bit's at the front and doesn't really matter, but the one near the sill could cause a build-up of dirt and contribute to any rust problems. Just something to be mindful of. Here's the part number of the liner for the left-handed near side wheel arch. I'll put the part numbers for both sides in the description, and you can see it's quite an odd shape. And quite flexible, so it quite easily bends back into place when you fit it into the wheel arch. You might find some of the clips have come off. They just slip on like so. And this is what you can see when you've got the liner out. It definitely protects the wheel arch from dirt. Although there's an accumulation of debris at the bottom of the sill here, which is where you don't want it to collect. So I'll have to clean that up and investigate. Refitting the liner, place it loosely in the wheel arch, far up at the top as you can. And then what I did was feed the front part in over the under tray and behind the anti-roll bar tie bar. Then I went underneath at the front end and fed the liner behind the bumper panel. There's a clip right at the very front part of the liner that marries up with a slot on the front bumper, which enables you to align the whole panel better. Once this front section's in place, the rest of the liner seems to easily seat into place itself. And you feed it up into the top part of the strut mount, as you can see here, making sure you line up all the holes to fit the screws. Then simply refit all the screws. And I like to put a bit of copper ease on, which will help remove them in the future. And we're done. Hope this helped you out, guys. Sorry it's only a relatively simple video this week, but I was finding the heat unbearable, especially when wearing a thick green ex-army balaclava. So I hope to get into something a bit more meaty next week. Anyway, please like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.